Let me move on to the other one. You mentioned the media. Let's just talk about the New York Times specifically. There was this meeting last week after the big hubbub about the headline that a lot of people on the left and people apparently in the newsroom did not like. And so Dean Baquet, the New York Times executive editor, brought everybody together, and something leaked from that meeting. And it was basically a transcript in which he talks about the outlet's coverage of Trump. And he said, it went from being a story about whether the Trump campaign had colluded with Russia and obstruction of justice to being a more head-on story about the president's character. We built our newsroom to cover one story, and we did it truly well. Now we have to regroup and shift resources and emphasis to take on a different story. And the story that they want to cover is how America has become so divided under President Trump. The president tweeting basically the New York Times he thinks will be out of office after he leaves office, hopefully in 6 years. And he says because of that, he's fairly certain that they will endorse him in order to keep it all going. Whatever happened to just reporting whatever the news is? Why do you have to have a vision for what that news will be?
Well, that would be a nice thing. But the fact that the New York Times is obviously deciding what narratives it wishes to sell to its own public right before the election. I mean, this is an activist organization. This is no longer a news organization. I don't even know how they purport to be a news organization when they're explicitly stating that their narrative for the next year or so is going to be about the divisive nature of President Trump and his racism, as opposed to the Trump-Russia stuff. I mean, when you design your entire newsroom around a story to take someone down, that's Media Matters. That's typically not the New York Times, but I guess the New York Times and Media Matters are one and the same now.